Winter shows up every year with a reputation it absolutely does not deserve. The moment the temperatures drop, gardeners everywhere start packing up, shutting down, and believing the long list of myths passed around like winter wisdom. But here at Soil Power, we don't garden by guesswork. We garden by truth, experience, and the kind of practical know-how that keeps your soil thriving 12 months a year. If you've ever thought winter means your garden is sleeping, dead, or done, then this is the article that will flip your thinking upside down. Because winter isn't the enemy, it's one of the most powerful allies your garden has. Let's break down the biggest winter lies that keep gardeners from taking full advantage of the season nature has gifted us. This is one of the biggest misconceptions floating around gardening communities, and it couldn't be further from the truth. The idea that every root crop must be uprooted before the ground freezes leads countless beginners to lose food they didn't need to lose. The truth is simple and brilliant. Your soil can act as a natural root cellar if you let it. Cold hardy root crops such as carrots, parsnips, potatoes, rutabagas, turnips, and even beets love staying right where they are. Underground, they're naturally insulated from extreme temperatures, and with a little help from you, they'll hold their quality longer than they ever would indoors. Here's the real trick. Once cold weather arrives, cover the beds with 6 to 8 inches of leaves, then lay a tarp over the top. When snow arrives, let it pile on. It becomes an additional insulating blanket. What does this do? It keeps your soil just above freezing, even when the air outside is punishingly cold. And that means you can walk right out into your winter wonderland and pull carrots in January as if it were July. Experienced gardeners who've tried this often swear by it forever. I've met gardeners, some with decades of experience, who say their winter-harvested root crops taste sweeter, crunchier, and more flavorful than anything pulled in fall. And honestly, they're right. Cold improves flavor because it forces the plant to convert starches into sugars. So, next winter, leave those roots where they belong. Your garden can store them better than your pantry ever will. Snow gets a bad rap because no gardener enjoys shoveling, freezing fingers, or watching their once thriving beds get buried. But here's the truth, winter gardeners need to hold on to. Snow is one of the most protective, beneficial things that can happen to your garden. Snow acts as a natural insulating layer, keeping the soil warmer than the air above. That blanket of white slows soil freezing, protects microbial life, and keeps your soil ecosystem active longer than bare winter soil ever could. But that's not even the best part. Snow is also known as poor man's fertilizer because it captures atmospheric nitrogen and deposits it directly into your garden as it melts. You don't have to lift a finger. Nature fertilizes your soil for free. This nitrogen becomes available to soil organisms and early spring crops, helping them break dormancy faster and start strong. When you think of it like that, seeing snow in your garden starts to feel less like a burden and more like a blessing. When winter arrives, don't grumble. Look out at your snow-covered beds and think, my garden is being fed and protected right now. If you love gardening as much as we do at Soil Power, the idea of shutting down completely for months feels like torture. Thankfully, it's unnecessary. Not only can your garden remain active, but some crops thrive in cold weather and get sweeter as temperatures drop. One of my favorite winter survivors is kale. Even after being buried under several inches of snow, the leaves come out crisp, vibrant, and incredibly sweet. Cold temperatures actually improve its flavor, making winter kale one of the most delicious greens you'll ever taste. Winter-hardy crops such as kale, Swiss chard, spinach, and arugula don't need hoop houses, greenhouses, or cold frames to survive moderate winter climates. All they really need is the resilience they already have built into their DNA, and maybe a gardener willing to brush a little snow off. While they won't grow quickly during the coldest months, they remain perfectly harvestable. And when warmer days return, even just a stretch of 40s or 50s, they wake up and start pushing out new growth long before your spring plantings catch up. Winter gardens aren't dead zones, they're slow-motion gardens full of opportunity. This misconception has gardeners believing that everything underground freezes solid and waits for spring. But soil isn't like a machine you switch off. It's alive, full of bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and countless microorganisms that don't simply disappear when temperatures drop. Even in winter, decomposition continues. Organic matter breaks down. Beneficial microbes stay active, just at a slower pace. And if you give your soil a little support, it will reward you with richer, more fertile beds by spring. One of the best winter practices you can adopt is chop and drop mulching. Instead of sending spent plants to the compost pile, cut them down and lay them right across the soil. This does three amazing things. First, it protects the soil surface from erosion and freezing. Second, it feeds soil life throughout the winter. Third, it transforms into nutrient-rich organic matter by spring. If you really want to supercharge your soil, add a top dressing of semi-finished compost before winter hits. That partially broken down material becomes the feast your soil microbes thrive on during the cold season. As long as you protect the soil with mulch, they'll keep working, even when the world above ground seems frozen solid. Winter isn't a pause button, it's a slow but incredibly productive phase of soil building. This final myth is one nearly all gardeners struggle with, especially those of us who hate stepping outside in anything below 60 degrees, but the truth is surprisingly comforting. Cold weather is one of nature's most powerful pest and disease controls. Mild winters allow pests like aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, cabbage moths, and fungal pathogens to survive in large numbers. When spring comes, they explode into populations that overwhelm gardens instantly. But cold winters, they knock these pests back hard. A stretch of truly cold days can reduce egg, larva, and adult survival across dozens of destructive pest species. Even fungal diseases, like the notorious maple tar spot, can be practically wiped out after a severe winter. Yes, extreme cold can damage some perennials or young fruit trees, but overall, a solid winter sets the stage for a healthier growing season ahead. Less pest pressure, fewer fungal outbreaks, cleaner leaves, stronger harvests. So instead of dreading the cold, embrace what it offers. Winter is nature's reset button, giving your garden a fresh, healthy start. Winter doesn't shut the garden down, it simply shifts it into a different mode. A mode where roots store beautifully underground, soil microbes continue building fertility, leafy greens remain harvestable, and pests get pushed back before spring arrives. If you stop believing the winter lies and start gardening with the truth, you'll find that winter is not something you survive, it's something you use. Here at Soil Power, we believe gardening is a year-round journey. Winter just happens to be the most misunderstood chapter. If this article helped bust a few myths or gave you some new winter gardening inspiration, be sure to subscribe to Soil Power and share this resource with a gardener who needs it. Together we'll keep growing, no matter the season. Soil Power 5.